So in 2019, my family and I took a trip to India. And during that trip, I had one camera and one lens the entire time. The camera was a Sony a7R II, and the lens was a Sony 50mm f2.8 macro, which I believe was the cheapest 50mm full-frame lens that Sony produced at the time. I was recently going through my archives, and I stumbled upon a folder that had all of the images that I shot in India. And I hadn't seen those images since 2019. It had been 5 years since I'd seen those photos, and looking at them was like reliving the trip all over again. So I brought all the images into Lightroom to edit them, and then all of a sudden I had a ton of photos and I didn't really know what to do with them. But I knew I wanted to make a video about the photos. But then it hit me. Why not make a video about how the creative constraint of only using one focal length can be very beneficial to any photographer, no matter where they are in their photography journey. So let's dive into how using a singular focal length can make you a better photographer. So reason number one is simplicity and focus. And by focus, I don't mean focusing like on a lens, I mean focusing on the images that you're taking. Going out with a single camera and lens setup means you're significantly reducing the amount of gear that you need to pack. This means less weight and bulk, making it easier to move around without the distraction of switching lenses or carrying a heavy bag. It frees you to focus on the experience of taking photos and not equipment. With fewer options, you won't have to worry about deciding which lens to use or trying to swap lenses in the middle of a shot, and you'll be able to react to moments as they happen, because in photography, so many moments we capture are fleeting. They come and they go. Reason number two. Developing a deeper connection with your gear. By sticking to one prime lens, you become familiar with its capabilities and its shortcomings. After a while, you'll start seeing the world through that focal length and be able to compose your shots before looking through your camera's viewfinder. Using a single prime lens requires you to be more physically engaged with your scene. Since you can't zoom in or zoom out, you have to move to frame your shots. This forces you to interact with your environments in a more three-dimensional way, walking around, changing perspectives, and becoming more observant of the small details in a scene, giving you more compositional opportunities. With fewer technical decisions to make, you can focus more on the moment. This helps you develop a deeper connection with the places, people, and subjects you're photographing, allowing you to make more meaningful work. Using a single camera and one prime lens allows you to detach yourself from the gear by eliminating the choices that you have. This is kind of a separate pro about prime lenses, but they're typically smaller than zoom lenses, they're sharper than zoom lenses, and most of them have wider max apertures than zoom lenses, so you can let more light into your sensor, and you can separate your subject from the background more by using lower apertures. Choosing one camera and one lens, whether that focal length be 28, 35, or 50, or whatever your favorite focal length is, allows you to stay true to the moment and focus on photography. The consistency, mastery, and increased creativity that comes from working within this limitation can often lead to better and more meaningful work in the long run. I want to share a short story about why I'm so pro one camera and one lens. And that's because in 2017, my family and I took a trip, and one of the places that we visited was Iceland. And before I got there, while I was packing, I was envisioning all of these different scenarios, like what if this picture arises, or what if this scene happens, or what if I see this? And for every single one of those scenarios that I saw in my mind, I decided to pack an extra piece of gear just in case something happened. And the issue is by the time everything was said and done, my bag was fully packed with all my equipment and water and my tripod and all that stuff. I bet my bag weighed at least 30 to 35 pounds. And so what started to happen was I was being weighed down by all of the equipment that I brought, and it started to make the process of photography less fun. And so as the trip went on, I would leave 90% of the equipment that I brought in the places that we were staying because it just wasn't fun for me to bring everything that I brought. So when we went to India in 2019, I told myself, I decided that I was not going to redo that again because it was a miserable experience to bring that much gear and lug it from place to place to place. So that's why I only brought one camera and one lens, and I could not be happier. So on that trip, I brought a 50mm lens because honestly, that's kind of all I had. I had some older vintage primes, but I decided to only bring that 150. But I would say now in my photography, as much as I do love the 50mm focal length, if I had to bring one lens for everything, it's a 35. You can actually see behind me, I have this guy right here. This is my beautiful Leica M2, and on it I have the Zeiss 35mm f2 lens for the Contax G1 and G2 camera systems. I converted this lens to M mount so I could use it on this camera. And this camera is such an absolute joy to use, and having, you know, those creative constraints of only having one lens, I think has made me a better photographer, but also enjoy the process of photography more. And it's come to the point where I don't even really enjoy using zoom lenses. I just always prefer to have a prime lens on my camera. And I think a lot of the reason why I am this way is because of the amount of film that I've shot. I started shooting film in 2017, And I've never used a zoom lens on any of my film cameras. And so because of that, I've just gotten so used to only having one lens, one prime lens on my camera. So as I move into my digital cameras, it's just such a habit for me to prefer the experience of using a prime lens over a zoom lens. Now my digital setup is the Fujifilm GFX 50S2 with the GF3570, which is a zoom lens. And the reason I have that lens is because it's the cheapest lens in the Fujifilm GF lineup. And eventually I am planning on getting the GF 55mm f1.7, but that lens is really expensive. So that might be a little bit further away. But I think the experience of using one camera and one lens has only ever improved my photography. So what I'll say to you, if you've made it this far, is the next time you go out, bring one camera and one prime lens and just take pictures and see how it is. And you might be someone that already only uses prime lenses, but if you're someone that isn't, try to challenge yourself. Or if you only have zoom lens, try to put that lens at one focal length and don't change it the entire time. And feel free to let me know how your experience went in the comments below, or by DMing me on Instagram or tagging me in some of the photos that you take going on this outing. And I think on that note, I'm gonna start wrapping up this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider checking out more of the videos on my channel. Also, maybe consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It does help me out. I have a ton of videos planned, so if you subscribe, you'll know when all of those videos come out. If you guys did like this video and want to check out more of my work that's not here on YouTube, I will leave my Instagram on the screen right now, as well as linked in the description along with my website in the description below, so you can check out all that stuff. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.